Today on Digital Marketing Masters, with your host Matt Rouse, our guest is author and voice actor Aaron Ryan.
Everybody, welcome back to Digital Marketing Masters. I'm your host, Matt Rouse, and it's been a minute, but we have got a fantastic guest for you who's been on the show before. Aaron Ryan, welcome back.
Thanks for having me. Good to be back.
So, Aaron Ryan wrote what before we had, I guess, mispronounced as the Dissonance quadrilogy, but it's now the Dissonance hexology.
Yeah, it was a tetralogy. I used to call it quadrilogy, but that's more of a movie term. So it was a tetralogy of 4 books. Then it became a pentalogy of 5, and story kept telling itself. So I turned it into a hexology. So there's 6 now.
Yeah, and I've started reading. I'm only kind of like, I don't know, maybe a third of the way through the first book. I was reading it while I was on the plane going out to Calgary. I went to my 35-year high school reunion, which, as much as people don't like high school reunions, when you get to be like, in your 40s and 50s, I think it's worth going.
Yeah.
Like you just have no idea what's happened to people at that amount of time.
Right.
And
we've moved around so much. So I don't, gosh, I went
to
4 different high schools anyway. So it's
out
like,
of the country and back. And yeah. Well, I guess that's true, right? I went technically to 2 different high schools, but yeah, I mean, it was still fun to go back, see some of the old crowd, but everybody's always like, this person died. I got divorced last week. This is my 3rd husband or wife kind of thing. And such is dead. And this other person's in jail. And, you kind of get the, like in 3 or 4 hours, you get the tea on like 100 people. Right.
Yeah.
Anyways, I thought it was an interesting experience. And it's not like you're going to have another one, right?
Right.
You're not like if it's your 20th reunion, you don't go. You're not going to have another 20th reunion again. So
yeah, and I've got 9 and 6-year-old sons. I just want to be home with them and the wife. So traveling to these places and you want to go support these people, which they were a factor and they were formative and important in your life at one point. But have we kept in touch? I'll keep in touch with the people that I've kept in touch with, since high school. But overall, like there's not a huge motivation for me.
I kept in touch with, probably a good dozen people. So it was probably worth the trip. I used to live there and work there and, So let's talk a little bit about what we talked about last time you were on the show.
Yeah.
You worked as a voice actor primarily before, right?
I'm still that's the day job, is still voice actor and author full time.
Right. But you also teach voice acting.
No, I used to. I used to be a voiceover coach. The community has grown. This is just my, my humble opinion, and this was the way it was in the spring of 2023. The community grew real toxic. And I was through kind of licking the fingers and kissing the butts of the upper echelon of voiceover artists who basically are kind of they run it like the Illuminati. They decide who gets to teach, who gets to speak, who gets to appear, and who they're going to endorse. And I really grew very tired of that rat race and that grind. So I was a business coach at the time, but I pulled out of the community entirely in the fall of the spring of 23. And that right there was the catalyst for a boon of creativity, which included music and then ultimately returning to fiction writing.
Right.
So I'm so glad I left.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it sounds like there's a lot of gatekeeping in that community, which, let's just go off the rails right away. We don't even need to wait to get into like 5 minutes. I have a very unpopular opinion about gatekeeping. I think there's a lot of gatekeeping that's really good. And the problem about that is that it means that everybody is not included. But I think that in some instances, there should be a barrier to entry, right?
Yes.
So there should be like a quality level or, whatever that is that says, okay, you've got the quality or you've kind of paid the dues to get to the place where you should be. I mean, maybe gatekeeping is not quite the right word, but I also don't think that there should be gatekeeping around my friends are the ones who get it and I'm going to exclude everybody else, or like if I don't like a certain type of people or, their minority group or whatever, that's totally unfair. That's not the right kind of gatekeeping, right? That's just discrimination.
Right. That's what it was.
Yeah.
It was my friends, and these are the people that I like. And it was very high school, juvenile, cliquey selectivism, and I was really tired of it. So while I appreciated probably a few of the people in that circle, overall, just the circle itself was so frustrating, and I bailed. And I'm so glad I did. So yeah, but I absolutely agree that there needs to be a high bar to entry, because so many people feel like, hey, I could be a coach. I know all the essentials and I could be a coach. You might know all the essentials, but can you teach that effectively? Can you duplicate your efforts with success on their end? Right. Do your students, would your students come away from an experience with you and go, they're a great teacher? And I was a great teacher, and I am a great teacher. Humbly speaking, I got that from every client I had, and they resounded that online, but it just wasn't the right fit, and it was time to move on, and that's okay.
Yeah. Well, and also the voice acting business is not exactly on an upward trend right now, right?
No.
I was talking with somebody in the translation business a couple of years ago, and they swore up and down that there is no way any AI system is ever going to take over the translation business, because they can't understand what someone is saying and translate it correctly with the right kind of verbiage in that, whatever the other language is culturally, right? Mm-hmm. Which, as we know now, the translation business has dropped over 90%. Yeah. So I think that is where kind of people stood with voice acting a couple of years ago. They were like, there's no way that a computer voice is going to be good enough that somebody is not going to be able to tell that it's a computer. Yeah. But now there's a lot of people voice acting into using licensing their voices to AI systems.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. Well, as a voiceover artist, I am on some of the most prominent voiceover marketplaces online. One of those is Voice123. Another is voices.com. There's VO Planet. There's Bidalgo. There's Cast Voices. And Voice123 actually gives you the option. I forget who they use. It's either Respeecher or Speechelo or something. They give you the option to license your voice and to basically allow your voice to be replicated, machine learned, trained. Right. And then people can buy/license your voice for their productions. Now, you get to approve all those. So, you can't just put it on, assign your voice to some smutty script on a TikTok video, TikTok reel. Right. You get to approve them. But I'm just not ready to do that. I haven't embraced that yet. And I want control of my voice. The reason for that is I know a colleague in the voiceover industry who actually, I'm pretty sure she had a contract in place. She sold her recordings to the Chinese Institute of Acoustics. Mm-hmm. They in turn turned those recordings over to TikTok, who then made a whole bunch of just, gross, salacious reels. And people were going, Bev, is this your voice? She sued them, had a lawsuit. Right. They settled. I don't know for how much, but I've seen it happen already. Just the misuse of your voice.
Yeah. I don't think that that's difficult to believe. It's going to happen a lot more. Right. Yeah. And the other thing is, and this is something that I find really interesting, is the ability to regenerate a voice without a sample. Like mm-hmm. I can tweak the pitch and the tonality and all this kind of stuff in like an app like 11 Labs or something. And you can create a voice very similar to another voice without having a sample of that voice. And that's very difficult in the legal realm, mm-hmm. because I think, and I'm not an attorney, so this is not legal advice, but I am pretty sure that if it's mistakable for the other voice, that person could sue you.
Absolutely.
But if it's different enough that that you could tell the difference, then they can't sue you. But even though you didn't use their voice, I don't know how that's going to turn out.
I don't either. It's a wild west right now. It always has been, and it might still be for a while until litigation sets precedent. And you do have cases like that, like the Scarlett Johansson case against the producers of the movie Her, that went ahead and
Right.
created, some kind of digital representation of her without her consent. And I think that ball is rolling, but the wheels of justice always turn slowly. So until that time, there are all these creatives waiting in the authoring industry as well. It's not immune to it as well. We're waiting for precedent to be set. There is an Anthropic lawsuit right now that's underway that I think they just settled for, where they've harvested all kinds of authors' writings over the years.
Yeah, they settled for the books.
Yeah, it's just that kind of stuff that groundwork needs to be laid so that the Wild West is actually tamed.
So let me tell you something interesting about that lawsuit. And I think our people listening may have heard that lawsuit, but maybe don't know the ins and outs of it. They got sued because the books were pirated.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't get sued because they used them. And what they did is they retroactively went and purchased the books after the fact. That's why they had to settle, because otherwise, for every instance of the book that they used when they hadn't purchased it would have cost them up to $250,000. Yeah. And that would have been a bankrupting amount of money, right?
Mm-hmm.
However, for the books that they did purchase in advance, they were not eligible to give the authors anything other than the author had already made money from the purchase, because they said it was fair use because they purchased the book. So,
which I just hate. I hate that explanation, but
that's
whatever.
difficult. I'm not saying that I agree with that explanation. I'm saying this is what the court said, right? And then OpenAI is about to settle, if they haven't already, another similar case with books, right? And I think, if you listen to like the AI podcast with like Paul Rotzer and Mike Kaput, they talked about this, a year and a half ago, saying all these companies have set aside some billies to say like, okay, we're going to get sued. We're going to have to pay out. So we're going to bank a couple $1 billion in the legal fund.
Right.
And so they've already accounted for it in the amount of money that they're raising. And so they're just going to settle, right? That's what's going to happen. And I think it's unfortunate. Yeah, I mean, 100% they're going to dodge the bullet. But the other thing is, there is what I would consider, like, I don't know if it's right or wrong, but I consider it a really good case to say that learning is not fair use. Right? Or sorry, that learning is fair use, but learning maybe is not fair use if it only benefits the company that owns the technology.
Right, exactly.
But we also benefit, right? Because here's the thing, okay? Pre-training an AI model is not about learning the information. It's about learning the structure of language.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not reading your book because they want to pick pieces of your story out and regurgitate that to people later. They're just using it to build the pathways, like your pathways are built in your brain when you learn stuff. Mm-hmm. And then memory is remembering stuff and giving it out later. And that is a different stage in the training process. Right. So a pre-training of an AI it's not learning the information, it's learning the patterns of language. And so that, I think, is fair use. And so, I mean, you're getting into a really technical realm, and I don't think that you could walk up in front of a judge and explain people's mathematics and computer science that took them 7 or 8 years to get in, year-round schooling at university, and then be like, well, in this case, I'm gonna, they're gonna write the math up on the chalkboard like in the TV shows, from the 50s or whatever. Like, it's not gonna happen, right? They're not gonna understand it.
It's an incendiary topic. As a creator, it's an incendiary topic.
It is.
It's also so exhausting because you don't know. I mean, and you may actually have some more foresight in this because you've written some books on it as well and studied that. But there are so many different ways that it can go. And the hope is that creators will be honored, that their works will be honored, that the rights that they have. I mean, I've got copyright protection over all of my books, not just, registering them with KDP is one thing, or Ingram Spark or Barnes and Noble Press, wherever. one thing, but getting them officially in the Library of Congress and getting a TX or whatever number on them is important to me. And that is some protection, gives me some legs to stand on in court.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'd love to see is just the infringement with no accreditation. That's the wrong word. No crediting the original creator, no remuneration, no consent, that all of that stuff just starts to get legislated.
Right.
It would be so nice.
Well, there is the problem of creating similar works, right? Which are protected under copyright.
Yeah.
So like if my daughter says to the AI, we're in bed and she's like, tell me a story. And I'm like, let's make an AI story because I can't think of anything off the top of my head. And she's like, okay, I want it to be about Minecraft and they go to see Dogman. Well, those are copyrighted characters, right?
And it sounds like you're giving OpenAI a prompt there, that's a chat GPT prompt.
Sure, right? And so if she says that to the AI and the AI comes up with the story, right? That's a derivative work.
Correct.
Well, hypothetically, they're supposed to be paying for that, right?
Correct.
Now there is supposedly, and this some of this might be hearsay, but there are supposedly talks between OpenAI and Disney to pay them every time that it's used in like a writing or a story or something like that, to pay them whatever the fee is. But my question would be, how do we determine who downstream from Disney gets a piece of that action? And if they really get a reasonable amount of money, like how many streams as a musician on Spotify do you need to make $1, right? Like
several.
thousands,
as a musician, that's the field that it's the creative vocation that I returned to once I left the voiceover industry, the voiceover community. I didn't leave the industry. I mean, I'm still recording back there. But when I ventured back into music, I was appalled. Every single stream of every song was maybe 3 cents. And, you can sell a Kindle version, which is the cheapest version of your book you can sell. And you can charge what you want. You can charge $9.99 and get, $3 or $4. Right. The difference is exponential.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you get your song played on satellite radio and you get $3 and you play it 1,000 times to make $1 on Spotify, or whatever the total is. Like the disparity is incredible. Right?
It is.
Or your show, like if it gets used on a TV show, they pay thousands for the rights to use it once. But they could just stream it off of Spotify for 0.003 cents or whatever, right?
Yeah, and what's really crazy,
it's the same song in the same format.
I actually, both in the Dissonance series, particularly in Volume Uprising, which is the second prequel, and then in my subsequent series, which I've written since we last met, is called The End, Volume 2 of that series, I cited another song, quoted the lyrics in the book, quoted the lyrics for this song in this book, quoted the lyrics for that song in that book, and they get, I think it's like 2 cents for every sale of every book, which is just nothing. It's nothing for something that they work so hard on. Granted, I'm just citing the lyrics for the song. It's not a full inclusion of here's this song from start to finish. It's not even a snippet of the song in audio form. But man, the royalty situation is also so messed up. It's glad I'm not in charge of it.
Right. I named most of the kind of subheading chapters in my new book are famous quotes or songs, but they're slightly modified,
Yeah.
So, and for those of you who don't know, my book's out right now. It's Will AI Take My Job Too? So you can get the updated version. That's right, the sequel. There was 13 predictions in Will AI Take My Job 1, and as of last week, all 13 have come true.
Wow.
So I was able to predict the short future, which I don't think is that difficult if you know enough of what's happening. Yeah. But man, the research that went into the next one, like there's so much going on right now in the world in general. But if you just talk about AI, right? It's like, I wanted to quickly look up his name, Roman Yampolsky. He is a computer scientist from Latvia, but he is also considered to be one of the leaders in AI security and alignment in the world. So like for over a dozen years, he's been studying like the security and alignment of AI and deep learning and data systems. And one of the interesting things that he brought up when he was on Diary of a CEO podcast recently, he said, if you're a computer scientist and you work in AI and you're just trying to keep up with AI, there is so much being released every single week right now that you cannot possibly keep up with all of it, which means as a corpus of knowledge of all AI knowledge, even as an industry insider, you're getting dumber every week. So you're knowing less of the total amount of knowledge every single week that goes by because so much is being produced that there is absolutely no way for you to know it all. Yeah. And then he says, now compare.
The artificial intelligence.
That's right. Well, he says, compare yourself now then to a super intelligent AI system that can keep up, but not only can it keep up with everything that's in computer science, it can keep up with all the advances in every single scientific domain.
Jeez.
The amount that you know gets smaller and smaller and smaller because you can only learn at a linear rate, and it's learning at not an exponential rate, but a hyper exponential rate, meaning that it is an exponent of an exponent. So, when you learn 2 things, it learns 16, and you learn 2 more things and it learns 32 more things, and you extrapolate that out, right?
Yeah.
And pretty soon you're not so smart anymore, right?
It becomes self-aware at August 29th, 2027.
That's soon.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? I think the idea of like the self-aware defense computer killing everyone is like probably the least worry. Probably one of I was going to say one of the biggest possibilities is that someone does not have the general population's benefit in mind or well-being in mind and uses it to do something bad. That's correct.
It's always the operator
thing to happen. Yeah.
It's always the operator. I actually just released a book. It's book number 35. It's called The Phoenix Experiment. And it's a dark fantasy, paranormal thriller, young adult mashup. In that book, I didn't want to intend it, and nor do I intend it as a referendum on AI or against AI, because there are multiple forms of AI present in that book. But there is an evil AI and there's a redemptive good AI. I want to believe in this one that something's going to work out, that it will actually benefit. We've already seen examples of that, good case examples of AI enabled, artificial legs that have helped combat veterans walk again, and they're AI, enabled. I don't know how that works. I'm going to leave it to the doctors and the tech people, but it's amazing. And that's very redemptive and a good use of technology. And then you've got the AI that thinks for itself, that decides to go all Skynet on everybody and decides here's the solution to all the problems. And I'm not going to consult with everybody because I'm superior technology, superior intellect, superior everything. And then they do go off on that not so endearing rabbit trail of, leading towards the destruction of mankind. So it's this war, it's this tug of war that's happening. And I think I did okay in writing that strife in the book, but how that will play out in real life, man, I don't know.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, the science fiction novel that I'm writing is called AGI Next. And I hope to get it done by the spring. I wanted to get it done by the end of the year, but it took too long to write this AI book. But
you should have had AI write it.
That's right. And then it would be done already. No, so this my book, AGI Next, the very basics of the story and how it starts, kind of the history behind it, is that every powerful group, whether it's a government, a church, an organization, whatever, everybody had their own AGI system, like a super intelligence level AI system. And they essentially pointed them all at each other with whatever their thoughts were on how the world should be, right? And it was kind of basically leading to like World War III, like the AI war. And all the AIs saw it coming and got together and built their own AI. And that AI is the one that rules all the other ones now.
Of course.
So now you've got an AI that's not built by people, that has its own agenda, that's in charge of every country's AI.
This sounds like the Matrix CPU or whatever, the hub of the Matrix, and then you've got Agent Smiths running around that are subservient in a way to the AI.
Yeah, it would be like it would be kind of like if there was 20 Skynets And all the Skynets, instead of killing everyone and killing each other, decided, let's make a new AI to sort out the problems.
All right.
And so the basis of my story is that this AI decides to gather a bunch of people from around the world and chat with them to figure out if it's doing the right thing.
Wow.
And a bunch of things go from there. So, so I don't want to give away too much of the story because I'm sure I'll talk endlessly about it once it's done.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you something else because
I
mean, it's been a year, right, since we chatted last on the show. I wanted to ask you, what do you think has been the kind of biggest change in either AI or, book publishing, or like what has been the biggest kind of technology thing that you've seen since last year?
Well, AI is huge. Obviously, it's indisputable. But I think one of the things that is plaguing everyone, and there's no solution to it. There's no end in sight because you have to nuke everything in order to make it stop. It's scammers. The proliferation of scammers. I have never been scam attempted rather, as a voiceover artist. I mean, it's a percentage is infinitesimal compared to how many scam email attempts I get every single day from expert marketers and expert, video producers and expert trailer makers and expert web designers.
Right.
And my goodness, publishing a book is a blessing and a curse because you're so excited as an indie publisher to get it out there. You're so excited because this is a story God's given you and you put it out and you want to give it to others. It's your baby. And you're like, yay, here it is. And God, the wolves in sheep's clothing just swoop in. And I just published a book, released it on last Saturday, the 6th, the Phoenix Experiment, the AI one I was talking about. And I probably received over 200 emails since then that are from scammy marketers. Maybe that's exaggerating a little bit. Over 100 every single day. And they're all Gmail. And I'm sure they all have an IP address originating in Nigeria, although Gmail, they're all masked.
Right.
You can't block, at gmail.com. You can, but you're going to risk losing some very legitimate emails. And there's just no way to filter all that out. It's so infuriating. I have to just
the only thing that they're an expert at is mass cold email.
Yeah. I mean, and here's what I love.
Also known as spam.
I'm getting the emails now where they say, "Dear name," or "Hello, great author." And your book, Mary Jane's Flight, was so good. And I'm going, you're so pathetic. That's not even my book. You
can't even get their database correct. Yeah.
It's so awful. It's such a waste of time.
I've seen ones where they're like they'll send an email and it'll be like, "Hello," and it'll say like token limit error, like they've reached the token limit that they paid for on the AI system. And so it's just sending out all their emails with, and I mean, that's another thing. This was brought up by like Permission Marketing in like 1998, I think it was, by Seth Godin, which is you don't market to someone without their permission, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you're making a trade-off. If you watch cable television, you watch YouTube and you don't have YouTube Premium or whatever, you're saying that you agree to the terms that I'm going to see a couple ads if I watch a video.
Yeah.
Right? But you're not agreeing to put out a book and have 1,000 people look up your name and send you an email and say that you're a terrible book marketer and they can do it better.
Right.
That's not getting someone's permission first.
Yeah, it's idiotic.
And it's also, I mean, somebody's paying
email. Yeah, right. I just got an email, just FYI. Here's an email where they're abusing my contact form on my website. It's Write the Writer. They're abusing this form to send me spam, unsolicited marketing messages that just came in just now. Normally they come in via email, but now that, you can block all those, but now you basically...
That was actually, honestly, one of the things that I've thought of doing, which I would have already done if there wasn't an anti-counter hacking law in Canada. So in Canada, there's this law, and I think the US has the same law. If somebody hacks you, you're not allowed to hack them back, right? Wow. You have to go to the authorities, right? It's kind of like this. You can't go like, somebody breaks into your house, you can't go break into their house kind of thing.
Right.
Anyways, this trick I think is on the borderline, which is if somebody emails me and it's a spam email, it's a cold email, I want to send them into a system that has an email address set up that's on my own server, running my own open source AI, so it doesn't cost me anything but electricity. And the AI's only job is to keep responding to them, making them think I'm going to buy whatever it is forever.
Good.
And it will just keep collecting them and keep responding and just do it forever. You know, there's actually
a brute force attack, like on a civilian level.
It could be like BC Telecom, I think it was in the UK. One of the phone companies in the UK set up fake phone numbers of elderly people and published their information on the internet in, some dark websites and stuff.
Oh, keep them busy.
And the scammers call them, and the AI pretends to be an old lady and keeps them busy for hours and hours on end.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. That's great. String them along. I think that's a great solution. And all of these, they're all coming from Nigeria. I mean, it's without a doubt, they're all coming from Nigeria. You can't just request,
hey, Russia, Nigeria, parts of China.
And Russia and China, yes, but predominantly Nigeria.
Yeah, I get, you know what? I get stuff from my podcast all the time. Like podcasts, we're the number one podcast. They're like, that your podcast could be getting more than, 26 listeners or whatever. And I'm like, it doesn't get 26 listeners. I'm like, fuck you. 26. Like, not that it's bad to get 26, but if you've been doing it for 7 years, you should have a few more. But
yeah, and I'm gonna be
not that I give a shit either way, right? But like just don't insult someone for your first marketing contact. Like, hey, you know what, Aaron? Nobody's buying your book because you're terrible at marketing, but we can fix it for you. Like, that's not a good pitch.
It's the flattery. It's, imitate. Well, flattery is, will get you everywhere is what they think. And so their emails are so buttery, saccharine. They are laden with platitudes and flattery of your book, which they always start it with, I just finished reading your book.
Right.
You didn't read it. You read the description, freely available on Amazon. You fed it into a chat bot, got a different iteration in order to suggest to me that you've read it.
And they didn't do it. Their automation did it.
Yeah. Right? But you're basically using that tool and abusing that tool to market. It's just so despicable. It's like, get a life.
Yeah. It's a good
I don't feel strongly about this at all.
There's a good use of the identical technology, right? And so a good use of the same technology is like, if let's say I write an article for my business, it's about a certain product. I want to write some information about how I can use it, some FAQs so people know, like frequently asked questions and answers to their questions. I want to do specifications. I got everything about it, right? Mm-hmm. I can use that same technology to say, take this product page and write me 50 different things about this, like each one separately and why it's important to different people. And then I want to take all this information and I want to post it, to this one goes to Twitter and this one goes to Blue Sky and sorry. But it's basically just summarizing and reposting the information that I already made automatically.
Yeah. Yeah. That's all it is.
Which would make you lots of money, right?
Yeah.
But instead, they're like, let's go scam some authors.
As a creative, what they're doing is so absolutely uncreative and just, it's a hack. It's a greedy capitalistic hack that has nothing to do with creativity. It's so offensive.
Even more offensive, I think, is the AI girls on social media now.
Yeah.
Somebody is like, you get a friend request and all right, listen up, ladies. If you don't get this because you're not a man, but you probably get the opposite version, which I've heard happening. But we get, you have a friend request from Kathy Smith, and you go look, and it's like, I'm a 22-year-old college student at University of Utah or whatever, and University of Arizona, and I saw your profile, and I just thought that you would make a good friend or something. And you're like,
yeah,
fuck off. But you know what? The other thing is worse is when you look and you see like one of your friends is friends with them, and you're like, no, don't be so stupid.
They roped them in. I fear for my parents, my elderly parents, and I'm constantly forwarding, news articles and things to be aware of that are, text bait and blah, blah, blah. But what's so silly with those things is people just don't have the mental wherewithal to look at this and go and stop and go, why on earth would you be connecting with me?
Right.
I mean, we have, yes, the one friend in common is an anomaly and stuff, but then that can lend credence to it. But there are people out there that are lonely, that are desperate.
They're very lonely.
And it's so predatorial. It just drives me crazy.
Oh my gosh. Talking about lonely, there is all kinds of problems already happening with people who are, let's say, emotionally attached to their AI character or AI system.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I think that people just thought it was this kind of funny thing that only happens to like dorks who live in their parents' basement kind of thing, they're like the stereotype, until GPT-5 came out and they took away GPT-4, and suddenly everybody who was having chats with 4.0 who was their boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever, and they freaked out, right? Like there's thousands of Reddit posts about people who are like, you killed my best friend. And, that's the state that we're in already. And the AI characters aren't even that good yet.
No.
And then you got something like Grok, where they intentionally made a girl who looks like an anime girl who talks like she's a prostitute that is available to anyone who has an X account, right? Of any age, right?
Yeah. Well, they're getting more sinister and more creative. The thing that we are starting to pick up in the authoring industry in particular is impersonation. So, and there's a huge writer beware website. It's a blog that's maintained by a gal who's just a century, and she keeps tabs on all these things. I had to look at my own screenwriter who has adapted my book to screen. Is he on that list? And he's not. There's mention of him. Someone's curious about him because they were approached, and he's not. He's vetted. But I get connection requests. Sorry, I'm using the wrong social media for him. I get follows on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, from Stephen King or, New York Times best-selling authors. And they're like a Marie Lu who wrote the Legend series. Why is she reaching out to me? It's not Marie Lu. And they always start out, they fire you a message right away when you follow them. Thanks for the follow. Great to meet you. I'd love to talk with a fellow author. No, you wouldn't.
Right.
See
you're not a real person.
But the newbie authors, the indie authors that are brand new to the circuit, brand new to the industry, they're so, oh my gosh, Marie Lu is messaging me?
Right.
This is so cool. And
also if you're a young person, you're in a state of mind that's not so great, right? You're depressed, you're desperate, you're lonely, right? There's all these things are problem. And I think those kind of predatory problems are just going to get worse. But on the other side of the coin, I think that AI-based tools to prevent that are going to come out. There's not a whole lot of them yet, but there's more on the way. And the one biggest problem there is that you've got so much open source AI, which I don't think anybody really saw coming, is like AI models that are basically like essentially state-of-the-art models that you can run for free, right? Nobody saw that happening. Like that was not on anybody's 2025 bingo card for AI, right?
Yeah.
So it's really difficult to use one slightly, a 4% better AI model to fight an open source model that is almost as smart as it, right? It's not good enough better, right? It's not better enough to go after it. And so I think that tooling is going to happen. We're gonna run out of time here because I do have a meeting I got to run to after this. But I did want to say that I really see, especially on Blue Sky, there's a lot of authors on Blue Sky that I talk to. So it's a good spot for authors if you guys like that. There does seem to be a kind of a renaissance of original kind of authoring work. Not that being an author ever went away, but I think that people are looking at all the stuff that's AI and saying, you know what, I want to get back to reading something more human, right? And even kind of a renaissance of like used bookstores and paper copies of books again. And they seem to be selling more now. So I don't know if you've seen the same thing, but.
Well, I mean, I don't look at those metrics per se. It's really hard to be an author and a marketer. I actually, for the very first time, 2 weeks, no, probably close to a month ago now, I finally hired a marketer, and he's creating some new stuff for me that's far more engaging than anything I've ever created. And I like that. So that gives me the chance to just write. And I've always, that's what an author wants to do, is they want to author.
Right. Spend your time doing what your core skill set is.
Yeah, absolutely. And what you love.
That's right. I love to write. And unfortunately, I also love to use AI. So I'm one of those people that I'm in an industry that hates AI, and I also really like it. So yeah. I don't like the scammy side of it.
Right.
I like it's like the Star Trek, and I say, computer, do XYZ, and it can do it. And it understands what I say,
Yeah.
Or I can say, I want to create an image of a dragon and then create what it's going to say in the voice that I want, that it animates it. And it's like, I can make a movie, that for me is a good thing, because I couldn't do that before, but if you want to find out what it's going to do to all the different industries, Will AI Take My Job Too by Matt Rouse.
There you go.
Available on Amazon. So Aaron, tell us where people can get your books.
Yeah, favorite question. So authoraaronryan.com has, I've got some, sub sites that are specific to each series that I've done. aliensaga.com is my alien invasion saga. thisisnottheend.com is my Christian dystopian saga. And then just authoraaronryan.com has all the socials and all the news and the blog. Sign up on the blog. And there you can go to authoraaronryangroup.com and join my exclusive Facebook group, where you can find out about news on the screenplays, giveaways, discount codes, just all kinds of things. Goodies in there. So hope to see you at any one of those sites.
All right. Well, maybe we'll get together again next year and have another chat and see where things have come along for you.
Sounds good. Love to keep you updated. Thanks for having me back.
All right. Thanks for being on the show. I appreciate it.
You bet.
Thank you for listening to the Digital Masters. Sorry. Oh my God, Cassidy, say it right. Thank you for listening to the Digital Marketing Masters podcast with your host, Matt Rouse. Don't forget to pick up Matt's new book, Will AI Take My Job Too? And get a glimpse into the future of AI for work and for businesses. Good job, Rachel. Oh, and tell them the thing about, well, Oh, right. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss an episode, and leave us a 10-star review on your favorite podcast app. It only goes up to 5 stars, Rachel. Whatever, Cassidy. Just don't forget to pick up the book, Will AI Take My Job Too? It might just save your job from someone like me.